Welcome to the 2023 Sport Action Films Top 10 Short Track Driver Rankings. I'm Tom Ryan, Sport Action Films, here with Wesley Outland, my old-time racing buddy who's been in the business forever. How you doing, Wesley?
I'll be 28 years when we wrap up 2023, man. I can't believe that I started this business at 13 years and 13 years old, and I'm over 40 now. So, but you know, Tom, I see the good, the bad, and the ugly in the sport. A lot of things have changed. I mean, you've had conversations just as friends on phone calls about things and whatnot. But you know, I think that there's still a heartbeat in motorsports. It's just really changed a lot.
It has, especially the way everyone ingests things, and that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing. You know, you and I are out on our own now, and we're doing our own thing, and a lot of other places have closed up, and we need to boost short track racing, and that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And because we don't want them to be forgotten, and we definitely want them to succeed and prosper, and that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing.
I think that the sport as a whole, and obviously this is just my opinions, and opinions are like, you know, everybody's got one, you know what I'm going to say in a very nice way, but you know, the sport's changed, in my opinion. It changed before COVID, but definitely during COVID and after 2020, the entire sport and the spectrum and the way you do things. And I'm not saying that all of it's bad, Tom Ryan. I'm not saying that all of it's bad, but there's definitely a lot of things where I believe people are missing the mark. And we've got to find a way to save short track racing. And again, I'm not trying to say that short track racing is dying. It's on life support, not any ways of the imagination. I think that there is a rise, but I think we're seeing a rise in short track racing on some levels, but it's not just at 100% kill for everything.
Correct.
Sure.
Correct.
Definitely.
So talking about that, well, let's go with your recognition. Well, hang on a second before we go into the top 10 lists or all the lists that you have prepared for us.
Sure.
Basically, Wesley and I started at Speed 51. I want to say like 7-8 years ago, and you know we've been partners and buddies ever since. But oh my God, is that beard on your face? 23 years old. I don't think I've ever seen you like this.
You know, I always said that I would never ever grow a beard. But I will let everybody know this, and this is the reason why I have it, Tom. Obviously, you know that we've all gone off and done different things. And, of course, you can still catch me on Flow Racing and Racing America. And, you know, obviously the things that I do, I own my own radio network, community radio network, wearecrn.com. We do a lot of football and basketball and racing and college and pro, high school stuff. The football, we were in the playoffs. And there was a bet going around with everybody about would you grow a beard during the playoffs, kind of like we love hockey, right? We love hockey, and we love hockey. And one of the things that they do during the postseason is they grow beards. And so the playoffs started at the end of October going into November. So we started growing it. I started to let it grow a little bit. And then obviously we move into No Shave November, which I'm a big supporter of, helping people find
love your nuts and let everyone love your nuts.
And then,
yeah, it's a great thing.
Yes, absolutely. So we turned around and I just kept it. And honestly, I've just kind of got used to it. It used to itch like hell when I first having it started to grow, but now it's starting to get fuller. You know, I don't know how long I'm going to keep it. It's definitely different. I've had some people say I look good with it. I've had other people say, "What the hell does this?" You know, what are you going into the caveman world with it? You know, but yeah, I think it's something that I'm hitting 40, Tom. It might be you know, midlife crisis, and I'm doing something different with my life. I don't know.
Nice, love it. Well, you know.
See, now you got me itching, thinking about it. I got a little tick now because of you. It's
all
okay.
right. Go ahead. Missing, man wanted, all those things. You know, now you're like mountain guy. You know, you got Tiger Man, you're mountain man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just, and a lot of people that I've seen recently, Bob Dillner, he saw me I was starting to let it start to grow at Motor Mile when I was with Flow Racing with the Modifieds, when he was with the Smart Tour and I was there. And at Orange County, it started to get a lot more fuller. And he was like, wow, are you really going to, are you going to grow this thing? And, because anybody that knows me, Tom, we used to have this conversation on
Yeah.
the Bull Ring on Racing America, which used to be on Speed 51, and I'd be like, no,
Right.
I'm shaving it. I'm not going to have facial hair. But I mean, I don't know. I guess you get older, you change. I guess
No, you're just
midlife crisis. That's
changing
my
it up.
story. I'm
Changing it
sticking
up.
to
That's
it.
all. I mean, I frosted the tips a couple
Yeah,
years ago, and 10 years
there
ago,
you
before
go.
I did no shave November, and it was a one and done thing. So anyway, let's
Yeah,
get into short
yeah.
track racing and the driver rankings. Let's start off with your list. Who do you want to hit first, Wesley?
Well, we could literally go from the top of the spectrum, from the NASCAR national level all the way down to short tracks. And honestly, I think I want to start in the world of dirt, because that's where I really got my career started at. And I do have 10 drivers, and these 10 drivers that I mentioned, and there might be some notable mentions as well, that I really think that either deserve to have the honor to be recognized. But hands down, I think number one, you got to look at Ricky Thornton Jr. RTJ, the man, I know him for a long time from the world of modifieds. He's moved into super late models in a Longhorn, and he has dominated. I know he got kind of, and I don't want to say the word is screwed out of the Lucas Oil Championship race in the Final Four, because you agreed to the platform, you agreed to the format. And
Mhm.
anything can happen. There was a time where it looked like Jonathan Davenport might have been the guy to win the championship. But I'm not taking anything away from, Devin Moran and all the things that young kid's done, and so many other great talented drivers at the Lucas Oil level. But hands down, Tom, Ricky Thornton Jr. just did a phenomenal job. He turned a lot of heads in the world of modifieds. He can still get it done in a modified, as we saw at the
Yep.
Dome last week in the Gateway Dirt Nationals. But hands down, I think if you're looking at an all-star super late model driver on dirt that's going to turn the world in 2024 from 2023, it's going to be RTJ, Ricky Thornton Jr. And I'm going to tell you a second pick, and a man that's had success in the world of outlaw late models, B-Shep, Brandon Shepard. This guy is now going to be in the house car with Steve Arpin and the powers that be at Longhorn Chassis. It's already
Hmm.
showing that the fruits of the labor are coming from it, from winning the Gateway Dirt Nationals. I think that Ricky Thornton Jr. and a very tidbit close of Brandon Shepard are going to be your top two dirt super late model stars to
I
watch this
agree.
year.
I agree. So 2023, your number one was RTJ for the dirt late models. The good thing
Yes.
about RTJ, well, not good thing, but the only person I felt like should have beat him would have been Hudson O'Neal. So luckily, Hudson did win it.
Yeah.
But it could have been anybody's race with the way that track played out. I mean, there's really nothing you could do about being outside the weather.
You're talking
Yep.
about Eldora,
Yeah.
right? The Dirt Track World Championship, and obviously again, Hudson O'Neal did become the overall champion when it was all said and done. And look, I seen it. I'm a
Yeah.
realist, Tom. Social media blew up. There were people saying Lucas Oil and these guys
Yeah.
screwed, Ricky Thornton Jr. Man, but listen, at the end of the day, you agree to what it is. When the
Right.
NASCAR Cup Series
Right.
do their playoffs, Xfinity Truck Series, you could be at the top of the mountain 1 minute, and if something goes wrong, you
Yes.
drop. And that's exactly what happened. I'm not trying to say big, woe is me for Ricky Thornton Jr. And there should be like a
Right.
participation award for
Yeah.
his successes and what he did. But bottom line, you knew the format, you knew how it happened. I got nothing but love for Hudson O'Neal. I knew Don O'Neal when he used
Hmm.
to run super late models when I started in my career. This kid's going to be talented. But I'm telling you, this new format that they're coming up
Yes.
this year with
Yes.
more races, I think is going to lead to more excitement for the Lucas Oil Series. And I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. I really believe within the next 2 to 5 years, or even next year, World of Outlaws, the Hunt the Front, they're going to start doing things like Lucas
Yes.
Oil is doing to think outside the box. You might want to say that this is a game per se. They're making a clown
Mm.
show out of the sport. But honestly, they got to make it exciting. They got to put butts in the seats. They got to get people to buy these productions on streaming. And if
Right.
you don't, then the sport's going to go under for sure. And I do believe that these new formats, these somebody said that it was foolish games doing the deal with the strategy for the championship 4 at Eldor for the Dirt Track World Championship. But honestly, I think this strategy was something smart for Lucas Oil. I'm not somebody that's against it. I'm just thinking that they need to find a way to tweak it to make it better.
That's exactly what they did this year. I'm glad they did it, especially after what happened this past year. It could have,
sure,
like, if nothing against Devin Moran, but imagine if Devin Moran won the championship. I mean, he had no chance going into that race in a regular
that's
points thing. But that didn't happen. Hudson O'Neal actually did have a chance with the points, and he was the second best driver, and he won the championship. Too bad to RTJ, but
yep.
Man, what a year RTJ had, just coming off the dirt in the dome. He did great there too. I mean, that guy is an absolute stud this year, 2023 RTJ. Yep.
In a Longhorn. That's what you got to remember in a Longhorn chassis. I mean, they literally have got something figured out at Longhorn chassis, Tom, and it's been that way for about the last 3 to 5 years. You look at what he did with Jonathan Davenport. You look at what Longhorn did, of course, a couple of years ago with Brandon Overton. And now you're seeing what Ricky Thornton Jr. and now Brandon Shepard's going to do. Not taking away the success that Brandon Shepard had in a Rocket XR1 for numerous years driving for Mark Richards. But now he's in a really good car. He's in a house car. He goes right out of the gate with it, and he wins at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Look out national level for the B
Can't wait for next year. Next season is going to be great. They already started testing yesterday at Golden Isles. I'm excited for 2024. What else you got? What's next on your list there, Wesley?
Well, we were talking about the world of dirt racing, and I want to stay on dirt. Obviously, I want to look at a modified driver, and I think there's 2 modified drivers that I think they're a very, very close tie that we're going to definitely keep an eye on. One of those guys is Drake Troutman, the kid. I've known this young man building up his career from the Renegades of Dirt all the way to running the Modified Mafia Tour that I'm proud to be the series announcer for, as well as all the big modified events that I get a chance to see at. And another one's Ethan Dodson, and he's another young driver from California. He's driving a Longhorn car for modifieds. And those 2 drivers, honestly, I look at their successes on both levels this year. They've both had the highest of highs. They've both had the lowest of lows. So I do want to say that for the modified portion of it, I had to come up with a tie. It was a split decision, as they say in the world of boxing. A split decision between, obviously, Ethan Dodson and Drake Troutman. And I think they're 2 talented modified drivers. I think they're going to be fun to watch in 2024.
That's great information there, especially for the mods. The mods always get overlooked. Glad you brought that in there. So what do you got next for me, Wesley?
Yeah. I really want to say something in regards to the world of late models stocks, and then I'll go into super late models. I believe the pavement late model stock car world is on the rise. I think what we're seeing with the Z-Max Cars Tour, with obviously Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton, Justin Marks, and Kevin Harvick coming in and what they're doing for short track racing, I think it's good. But I do have reservations on it because my fear is that they are going to start building their own cars and their own team is going to come in and they're going to kick butt and take names on a regular basis. And then I think it's going to hurt the regional drivers like the Deke McCaskills or, the Lee Pulliam performance programs or any of those types of drivers that, they can't compete because literally we brought in NASCAR money and NASCAR teams on the late model stock level. I think there's a good and a bad in this. They've got to find a way to make it work. I think Jack McNally and Kelly Novitzky have done a phenomenal job to keep the cars to afloat. A lot of people don't know this, but the cars tour was the saving grace of what Kerry and Pete Bonhammer and the UARA Stars was when late model stock car racing was on the decline. And they brought it back up because they couldn't successfully keep the pro late model Pro Cup Series program going. When that was where the Cars Tour came from, was on the Pro Cup side. So there's a change there. There's people that are in place. I think of Kip Childress, a friend of mine, pace car driver for NASCAR. He left NASCAR to now be the man behind helping operate the Cars Tour. There's so many great people there. There's one driver, though, that I have to say that amongst all of this going on in the late model stock car world, had a phenomenal season. And I know you want to think I'm going to say Connor Hall. Big kudos to Connor Hall being the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts champion. And I know you want me to say the Quapples. They've had good years too. But my driver is Brendan Queen. Butterbean Brendan Queen. This kid is going to turn faces, I predict, within the next 5 years. He plays his cards right in the car store. Pardon the pun, Tom Ryan. Butterbean Brendan Queen is going to be somebody you're going to see in the NASCAR level. He's talented. He's got that mullet-style personality where people just enjoy to be around him. Great conversation, great personality. The talent behind the wheel is electric. I mean, this kid, I think, is going to be somebody to watch in the future, and he is my top late model stock car star of 2023 for pavement racing.
I love that pick, Wesley. I mean, Connor Hall, kudos to him. He did have a fantastic year, but the most marketable, the most personality, the most, you know, the headliner of the tour, who was only 5 points away from beating the Quapple Boy. I mean, he ran out of gas at, do you remember which track it was? Was it Caraway? Yeah.
I want to say it was Caraway.
Yeah, he basically Caraway. Ran out of gas, and if the roles were reversed, you know, Bean is your champion, and taking nothing away from. I mean, basically, he was gonna beat the best car in Cars Tour for the past 5 or 6 years. Sure. I want to say. So, you know, nothing against Brennan, but great guy. And I was just talking with another guy, Vaughn Crittenden from Virginia and Langley Speedway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Basically grew up at Langley, and he said he's always been this way, and it's great to see. And I agree with you, Wesley. That's going to carry him probably to the next level.
Me and Bill Mullis, Brian White, and myself have these conversations all the time throughout text or on phone call. And one of those things I say is, man, those Hampton Roads drivers are really doing well in the world of late model racing. They are really being represented. But here's the deal. That's all Connor Hall did. I don't want to make anybody mad out there that are fans of the 77, and obviously he's going to a new race team as well, which was a shocker to everybody. Going to, of course, the Autos by Nelson program, and that's losing Bobby McCarty. But Bobby McCarty and Landon Huffman, they're going to pick up on their feet. They're going to find something to continue on and do. But Connor Hall could be the driver that Connor Hall is without having to drive for Autos by Nelson. I'm not saying that I'm against that opportunity happening for him, but he could have been in his own equipment and still kick butt and take names. We've seen it. But for him being the NASCAR national champion, he did it at Langley Speedway. He did it at just that one racetrack. And yeah, he traveled around and he did okay, but he didn't set the world on fire. And there's only one man that won the Hampton Heat 200, and it wasn't Connor Hall. It was Brendan McQueen. Brendan McQueen won the South Carolina 400 in his first car last year with Lee Pulliam Performance. So that, again, there was a lot of people that were, you know, well, maybe you should have gone with Connor Hall because he's the overall champion. Or you should have went with Carson Quapple or Kason Quapple because of what they did on the Cars Tour level. I'm not looking at the champions per se. I'm looking at the overall spectrum of looking at every race, every event, every statistic, every finish, to make my decision. You might not agree with me, but I do think that Butterbean Brendan Queen for sure is going to be somebody to watch here in the future, and he is my man for 2023.
Gotcha. Great pick. Love it, Wesley. Passionate. I love to see the passion. That's what we want on here. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So what do you got next, buddy?
I'm going to go with Super Late Model Racing. And obviously, Super Late Model Racing, it is a toss-up again that I had a split decision. I am torn between my friend from Sonoy, Georgia, Bubba Pollard, and Seymour, Wisconsin's Ty Majeski. In my opinion, those are your two top stars in the world of super late model racing. But let me digress and explain why. Bubba Pollard, what he did in the Southern Super Series, what he did on some of the ASA National Tour events, did really, really good. definitely come so close to winning the Snowball Derby. I mean, it's literally coming up on 20 years, like where Earnhardt couldn't win the
Yeah.
Daytona 500. This same
Yeah.
obstacle is blocking Bubba Pollard from winning the greatest short track race in America, and he comes so
Yep.
close to winning it. Him and Nasty getting together. I saw social media blow up, and people were, "Oh, he was rough driving, and they were wreck. That wreck was supposed to happen 5 laps before it did. It really wasn't really a wreck. It was a move. He got down to the inside. Nasty's gonna do everything he can to throw the block on him, and I still think something broke on Bubba Pollard's car. And when that did, they both pushed each other up the racetrack. I don't see anything intentional. I know that Bubba Pollard and Stephen Nasty got history. I've called Tom Ryan some of these races in the past where Bubba Pollard and Stephen Nasty have definitely had not be somebody you want to exchange Christmas cards with this
Yep.
holiday season. But I will tell you this, in my humble opinion, Bubba Pollard did really, really well. I would say that this year for Bubba Pollard was his best season since probably 2019. 2019, he got a really, really good year. Remember, he
Yep.
did well at Nashville. He did well at the
Yep.
Masters of the Pros. Did well at Winchester and all the other events that he ran at. Jukasa. He won the race in
Yeah.
Jukasa. That's
I
another
think that
track,
was
by
I
the
think
way.
that was
That's going
2018 where
under.
he won all those races. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean 2018, 2019, that's basically when the car he was driving, the Seneca, he
Yeah.
had it at its peak.
The TM
Yep.
Ranch machine.
And basically that's what he's back to driving now, and the Seneca's rolling and really good. But yeah, your other guy is Ty Majeski, and I mean he's got a championship under his belt, and won this.
Well, listen, I'm not just going with Ty Majeski because he won his second
Right. No.
Snowball Derby. You got to look at what Ty Majeski has done all season long. ASA Stars National Tour Super
Yep.
Late Model Champion, the winner of races all
Big
across
races.
this year. And I'm going to say something in regards to Sargent and Mackey and Balish and the powers that be with the ASA Stars National Tour. And I mean this in no disrespect. You're bringing back the name ASA. And me and Bob Dillner has had this conversation. And Tom, I think me and you've had this talk before. And I know that I had Bubba Pollard on my Finish Line radio show during this year. And we had this conversation as well. And the thing is this. To me, the ASA Stars National Tour is just a name. There's nothing that they've done this year that stands out from anything other super late model racing has done. I mean, bottom line, I'm just being honest here. You look at what SRL's done, you look at what PASS has done, you're looking at any of these sanctioning bodies across America from the years that have gone past to now today, and it's just the name. And you can slap a star on the pace car or on your trailer and say, hey, we're big time and hey, we're this. We got to find a way to take care of these guys, Tom. You can't call yourself a super late model national tour unless you literally have got 20 to 25 super late model cars from across the country, drivers and teams that are being taken care of. Hotel lodging, gas, fuel, anything with the contingencies. There's got to be things than just, hey, we're going to pay $25,000 to win, and we hope we get the best super late model drivers in the country to come.
Right. And I mean, this is a sanctioning body. No,
it's just my
it's
opinion.
Good conversation, and we could go on for hours about this. And maybe I'll have you back, and we will. But one of the things about that is basically it's a year in. They learned a lot this year. They've made tons of mistakes, and just remember the mistakes they did make was with their choices and things like that. And now the SRL has had their policies in place for years now, because basically Ricky Brooks brought all his people, and that made it a lot easier for the SRL. Not trying to give ASA a free pass on this, because we all know what happened at Nashville, and that was huge. But hopefully that can't happen again. But yeah, in the future, we definitely need to raise up super late model, at least
Yes.
SRL doesn't have a points championship. ASA does. It's the little things, and they're working on getting better and better and better. So, we'll just grow from here, hopefully.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, Tom, I don't think it's the purse anymore. I don't understand why these tracks and these events and these sanctioning bodies and series are wanting to put so much money up to win. I don't get that. To me, it's if I do a race and I put up a 10,000 to win show, in my opinion, and Tom, we saw this. We saw this in the world of pro late models before COVID. If you remember the Fast Track World Championship that was on MAV TV and Racing America, Speed 51 at the time, we had 113 cars. We were
Yeah.
tickled to death for a 50,000 to win race. But then we're sitting back in our debrief and we're like, well, wouldn't you? You're paying $50,000 to win. You're expecting to have a big plethora of talent cars to show for this race. Even if it's somebody from Timbuktu, if they got a crate car, they want to have an opportunity to be acknowledged and be in this moment. But then we look at the world of super late model racing, Tom, and everybody wants to one up one another. Well, you're going to pay $50,000 to win. Well, I'm going to pay $100,000 to win. Well, you're going to pay $100,000 to win. Well, guess what? I'm going to put up $1 million. Only Eldora can do that. I'm being honest. Nobody track across America can do that. But what I'm trying to say is that what's the outcome? Yeah, you might get the good name guys to come in, Tom, but the car count's not there. The Eldora Million, whenever they first did it in 2001, the Eldora Million that Donnie Moran won, the $1 Million Man, when they done that race, they had over 400 some odd cars. We didn't even break over 100 for the Eldora Million this year. And you can blame it on the times. You can blame it on the world we live in today. You can blame it on the economy. You can blame it on COVID. You can blame it on anything. But I really think that these promoters are being outlandish, with my last name being Outland. Hello, pardon the pun. It's crazy that you think you got to pay a $200 or a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 win purse and expect to have a good field of cars. You're just running them off. You're running off the regional drivers. Because they're not going to go up against the national men, Tom.
No, and we're seeing that everywhere now. It's snowball derby car counts for super late models are lower, and even the Blizzard series and so on and so forth. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into your next driver.
Okay, so I mentioned obviously the pavement and dirt and the late models and modifieds. I want to say in the world of the modifieds of pavement, hands down, I've got to go with money, Matt Hirschman. What a phenomenal year this man's had. This guy has turned heads. He's already turned heads. He's going to continue to turn heads. I really wish, and I don't want to go back to the subject we were just talking about, Tom, but I got to lead into it with modifieds. I really wish that the world of promoters would pay the money that they pay late model guys, modified drivers, because modified racing is exciting. A lot of people don't know this. That's where NASCAR started from modifieds. The first ever race car of NASCAR was a modified in 1948, before the sanctioning body ever became what it was with the cup cars and the trucks and ARCA and all the things they have today. So that's another series, Tom, that I feel doesn't get the recognition. You mentioned it on the world of dirt. I still think it also on pavement. You know, we go to North Wilkesboro back in September, and what a great show that was. It wasn't a sellout like the All-Star race, but it was a great show. Great field of modifieds, okay? But they only paid like, what, $10,000 to win? That race, in my opinion, should have paid $50,000 to win. Those are the types of events that I think where you really need to pay out that kind of money. Martinsville, when they go to Martinsville on NASCAR Cup weekend, you need to pay $30,000, $40,000 to win. And I'm not trying to be a hypocrite of what I was saying about purses paying too much money. What I'm trying to say is that spread it all around. If you're going to do it for late model racing, Tom, we need to do it for the modifieds too. But, man, there's no question. I don't think anybody can dispute my word. Money, Matt Hirschman, dominator this year.
Yeah, what a great year. Even though he broke his wrist, up north and came
Yeah.
back from that and still won a bunch of big races this year. What a great season by Big Money Matt. And getting back to the modifieds and paying a lot of money, my podcast, BSing with Bubba, we were in Florida with Ryan Priest and had a 2-part interview with him, and it was fantastic. Part 1, we talk about
Yeah.
actually maybe bring in modifieds to Five Flags. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah.
That'd be
And
awesome.
part 2 was about his NASCAR crash. And then we actually had someone come in and bum rush the show. And it was Derek Thorne, the 2023 Snowball Derby champion. So check those out on BS with Bubba podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment, and definitely like, comment, and subscribe to Sport Action
Yeah.
Films too. But getting back to what
Yes.
Ryan Priest actually said about the modifieds is New Smyrna Speedway. That has grown, like it had a lull between like 2010 and 2018, and the modified count went down, but the racing has picked up. There's now over 40 something cars there showing up every night to race. Ryan Priest was explaining
Sure.
how great it is to race a modified on that track. And modifieds aren't built for every track, kind of like the way super late models aren't. And I never realized that.
That's right.
But coming from a racer saying that, it makes a lot of sense because, like Bubba Pollard says, super late models at New Smyrna, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
He loves going to Berlin, loves going to Five Flags, but not the reason we all think it is because he's so successful there. He goes because it's a great place to race those
Right.
cars. My point is, modifieds are fantastic. I agree with you, Wesley. More modifieds, money, Matt. So we'll see.
Yes.
All right.
I think Kyle Bonsinger might be the close
Or
second,
Justin
but I don't think
Bonsignor,
he
yeah.
holds anything.
Well,
Justin,
Ron
Justin
Silk was
Bonsinger.
the
My
guy who had
apologies.
the championship this year, who beat Justin, which is a tall tale to do.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened in a while, so it was good to see Ronnie Silk deliver the championship for him and his team. His crew chief used to be Doug Kobe's crew chief, I believe, or was it Bonson yours? I forget.
Right.
I just don't want to say something that I'm wrong about. But anyway, all right. Next division, is there any more divisions you have, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I still
Good.
got a plethora. What have I got? 5 now? I think I've done 5.
Yep.
I think so. My next is going to be ARCA. And for the ARCA series, obviously a lot of people, they're William Sawalich, hands down. I know I want to say Jesse Love, Tom Ryan. I want to. And he won the championship. But I also look at just what William Sawalich did on so many levels this year. And another thing that I take into account is how many times William Sawalich would run a super late model or a pro late model and win, and then go run an ARCA car and win or be consistent. Jesse Love ran a couple of fly-by-night late model races whenever he wasn't running ARCA. He didn't do like William Sawalich did. This kid, I believe you're going to watch a driver that I really believe is going to turn some heads in the world of ARCA. I don't think he's going to be running ARCA full time that much next year. I think he's going to start to slowly transition into the world of NASCAR. And another close guy that I got to give props to is a friend of mine, Tom, and that's Landon River Lewis. We met this young man at Dillon when he used to run legend cars and running on dirt modifieds and pro trucks, and now he ran ARCA. Remember his first or second career ARCA start in dirt? He won.
Wow.
At Springfield, I believe it was, or DeCoin. So, I mean, Landon River Lewis is going to be, I believe, a driver that has paid his dues in ARCA. He might still run a couple of ARCA races, Tom, but I believe he's already in the transition phase of moving into the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's going to be somebody I believe we're going to watch for sure, as well as
I love
William
how
Sawalich.
with Sawalich you bring out the levels and how he did well in different things. That's fantastic. That's exactly the kind of content I want here, because it's not always just about like ARCA. Just because you're productive at ARCA and you're decent at super late models, well, that doesn't mean you're an all-around racer. Or I don't know. There's there's kind of like things that you kind of pick out and are worried about seeing. Now Jesse Love, on the other
Sure.
hand, what a personality that kid has. You know what? I mean, such a conversationalist, such a nice kid, but he's also a fierce competitor, and can't wait to see where that kid ends up. Because you know, a couple years ago, you and I were covering him at Speed Week, so just like William Sawalich as well. So great picks there for the ARC. I love to see that. So what do you have next for me?
I want to go into the world of open wheel. Besides the modifieds, I want to talk about IndyCar. I don't think that IndyCar racing gets the credibility that I think that they deserve, Tom Ryan, except when they run the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis
Okay.
500-mile race. And, you know, I've got to tell you this, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the star IndyCar driver was Joseph Newgarden. He was a phenomenal story in the Indy 500, winning for Penske. Obviously, Ryan Blaney winning the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte for Penske on the same Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
That was special. And then he
Yep.
wins the championship. But is he my top NASCAR Cup driver? That's the question. You got to
Okay.
find out at the end, though. We'll have to see here. But you know, I look at Joseph Newgarden, and I look at what he's done with the sport of IndyCar and open wheel racing, and I just bottom line just see that if we could find a way to promote him more, and I talked with my friend Mark Janes of IndyCar
Mm-hmm.
Radio about this. If we could find a way, Tom, to promote the open wheel sport like they did that 100 Days to Indy on television on the CW network before the Indy 500 and then the week after or 2 weeks after the race was over, I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that was the first time in ever, 20 years, I believe, or as even as long as I've been on this earth, that I saw the promotion for IndyCar racing be as big
Mm-hmm.
as it was. But what was it about? Is that the
Yeah.
Indy 500? We're not looking at anything else except the Indy 500, and I think that's one of the biggies Achilles' heel of IndyCar racing, besides the iRacing saga drama that's going on right now
Yeah.
within the sport, right? Hopefully they'll come back on board to the number one simulation motorsports in the world. Um, but I'll be honest with you, Tom. The IndyCar world's lacking, and I see it because to me it reminds me like the modifieds of pavement or dirt. They don't get the credibility that they deserve. IndyCar gets as much hype for the Indy 500, and then it's fly by night.
Yeah.
I love all racing. You know that, Tom. I follow all racing. I follow all aspects of the sport. If they could figure out a way, IndyCar and Roger Penske and the powers that be, of promoting these open wheel guys, because you know that's a crazy
Yeah.
sport. You know, they were reaching speeds at 230
Yes.
plus miles an hour this year. And these cars, these Delars or Chevrolets or Hondas or whatever they're driving, Tom, they're getting faster and they're getting faster and they're getting faster. And I've said this on my radio show when we were talking about the crashes that happened. And I think about Ryan Hunter-Ray making the starting spot because the other guy, Graham Ray, oh man, what is his name? Was it
Mm-hmm.
Graham Rahal? I think it is. He was going to be bumped from the 500, and then the next day that guy crashed, and then they put him back in the race again to
Yes.
drive that car. I'll be honest with you. I think of it like drag racing, Tom. These cars are getting too damn fast. They're getting too crazy. I'm not saying that they're not looking at the efforts of
No.
safety, but I think as the cars get faster, we got to look at making these cars safer.
Yeah.
Because the faster you go, the more you break that G-force barrier. What you're doing safety-wise might not work for something that's getting faster as
Right.
time goes along.
Right.
So, but on a social standpoint, though, Tom, if we could figure out a way to get IndyCar better promotion, better publicity, I'd be all for it. I love
IndyCar
I love
is a blast to watch. It's a blast to go to. They got some great drivers, like Newgarden is amazing, stellar. And they got some great personalities in there, like Hinch and even Marco. Marco, you know, he's no
Marco Andretti,
he's
James
no Mario,
Hinchcliffe,
but
yes.
I mean he's close. He's a lot better than Michael was in personality wise.
But it's the name, though. It's the
Yeah.
name, though, Tom. And that's the reason why he's where he's at. I don't want to say that Marco
Oh, he's
Andretti's
talented,
not talented, because
absolutely.
he is.
But he's no Mario, but you know.
Well, but the name is what's got him in the sport.
Yeah.
That's what's keeping him there. The Unsers, the Andretti's is like,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
Earnharts and the Elliots and the Allisons and things
Yep.
of that nature for
All
sure
right.
of
Well, that's
NASCAR.
IndyCar. So, what do you have next?
What do I got now? What do I got? Seven or eight? Have I got to the
I think
level
it's
of the
8.
top now? Have we
I don't
reached
know.
the top?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we're at 7.
We're at 7. So guess where we're at now? Where do you think we're going to go to
Drag
now?
racing?
You know what? Drag racing, I really
So,
didn't even think
no,
about that.
nope,
But if
nope,
you
nope,
want me
nope,
to
nope,
open
nope,
that door,
nope. No. So,
no. Well, I was just going to say, in my opinion, Robert Height
okay.
had the great year for
Congrats,
drag
Robert
racing, in
Height.
my opinion.
Okay.
Robert Height's my guy.
All right.
Yes. So, and that's another sport that, honestly, Tom, that doesn't get the numbers are down. Ratings are down. The promotion's down. That's another sport to me that's like IndyCar. It doesn't get the credibility that it deserves. There's nothing like going to ZMAX Dragway at the 4-Wide Nationals and seeing 70, 80,000 horsepower rocket down the strip at one time. And the only reason that you're seeing it happen is it's been successful. Now you got the West Coast doing it. They saw Carolina do it.
Right.
Now Vegas is doing it. So we could go on and on about drag racing, but honestly, in my opinion, I just think Robert Height had a really good year. And I keep waiting for the day. I think he's got a personality like me. John Force. When is he going to retire? John Force has been doing it a long time.
He just won't quit, which is fine. I mean, he's an amazing personality. Yeah. What a driver too. What a career.
Yes. I think he's going to be a hell of a commentator if they could just get him to, it's like what Bob Diller used to always say about me. Wesley, you got this chip, but it's up at 100. We got to bring you down to about 65, 70. And if we do that, you're going to be okay. So I've mellowed out in my older age too, I believe.
Robert Height, number 8. What's number 9?
Well, I was going to say drag racing don't count, Tom. I'm sorry. You opened that door, so I was just going to kick it in. I'm going to go with the top levels of NASCAR for my final 3. I know you wanted me to do short track, and I think we've covered everything from the late models to pavement to everything, dirt, modifieds, you name it, ARCA. I think I really took you to more of a tailspin than what I think you thought.
Absolutely, but I also believe though you're bringing up NASCAR, you will bring me to short track NASCAR too. Yeah. See,
sure.
I know.
Absolutely. I will tell you this much: NASCAR, in my opinion, they had a phenomenal 75th anniversary for NASCAR. I think it's awesome. I think that as much as we need Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws, you got to have NASCAR. That goes hand in hand. And I tell people this all the time. I literally, Tom, get people, I don't like NASCAR. I hate NASCAR. NASCAR's stupid. Well, let me tell you something. NASCAR is what keeps the late model stocks going on the short tracks. NASCAR is what's keeping dirt racing going. It's keeping the products going. It's keeping promotion done. So you've got to try to find a way to meet in the middle. You might not like the sport where it's at today, but they all are a big circle, and it's all motorsports. It's all one big happy family at the end. I always say it's like church or politics. There's all many affiliations of denominations or, whatever your, affiliations are. But at the end of the day, we're all in one big circle at the end of the day, looking at the bigger picture. And I say the same thing about racing and NASCAR. I want to talk about the truck series, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, or the Craftsman Truck Series. I'm sorry. Hands down, I really believe that a talented driver in the truck series, I'm going to blow you away by saying this, Ty Majeski. I want to say it, hands down. Ty Majeski, as much as he turned heads in the world of the super late model world, I think he did a phenomenal job of the truck series with Thor Sport. I think he's going to do really, really well in 2024. I really believe that this guy is going to be up in the Cup Series time by 2025, 2026. Wow. I believe that. Ty Majeski is a talented driver. He comes so close, 2 years now to make it to the championship 4. And just, it's, and that's what's so frustrating is and we mentioned it earlier talking about the Lucas Oil playoff format, the way they were doing it. Well, you look at the championship 4, you look at where it all started, you get to that last race. Everything you did up to this is all on one race. And I'll be honest with you, Tom. I'm ready to see them get the hell away
Yeah.
from Phoenix
Agreed.
for the championship 4. It's a shame that the racing, as exciting as it is at Homestead or at Auto Club, before they shut it down or moved it around, changed it up, we go from an absolutely phenomenal race 2 weeks before the end of the year at Homestead. And then we go to Martinsville, and obviously Martinsville's Martinsville. But then you go to Phoenix, and you're just like, man, it's like watching
it
paint
just doesn't.
dry.
It just doesn't feel like a championship weekend, like Homestead always did. Always. It's like if they ever take Daytona away from the first race of the season, it's going to be a huge mistake.
And believe it or not, Tom, I'm being told that there's serious conversations that's really going to happen. The last thing I was told from a couple of friends of mine in the NASCAR world is that by 2025, NASCAR is going to start on the West Coast, and it's going to start there at the West Coast swing, and then they're going to move to the East, and then the Daytona 500 might be the third or fourth, fifth race on the calendar. That's just things you don't mess with. And I think if you really want to, I don't want to say this and get in trouble with our audience, but if you want to piss off your motorsports NASCAR fan base, Tom, move the Daytona 500 to race number 5 of the year.
Yep.
And Tom, let's go back to short track racing, because you said it somehow. I'm going to bring it in circle. They move speed weeks. Then what the hell is East Bay for?
Yeah.
What the hell is New Smyrna for? What is the World Series of Racing for? What is Volusia in the Dirt Car Nationals for?
Well, the short track people aren't coming back to Daytona. They're going to come down for speed weeks for the short track stuff, and they're not coming back. NASCAR, what are you doing?
Right. But if they do that, where do you think Speed Week started from, Tom? We know this. NASCAR. It started with NASCAR. So if NASCAR takes their ball and says we're going to run the Daytona 500 in March or April, is what the conversations are. Sure, they are going to try to do races in January and February down in Florida, but it ain't going to be the same. The workshops that they do, the RPM workshops, the RTBC business conferences, all the things that go around that, there's no need to do it anymore. They need to think about that before the powers that be of the upper echelons of the France family and the Kennedys and what is his name, Steve Phelps, and all the people that are moving on planning and scheduling needs to really consider this for sure, for definitely. But man, in the truck side of things, Tom Majeski hands down, and I mean, I want to say I think he's going to be a phenomenal driver. Xfinity, man. The Xfinity series, Tom, that can go across the board with anything. I'm going to be honest with you. Besides the trucks, I think we saw some of the most exciting Xfinity series racing.
Yes, agreed.
In this year, hands down. And I think it's also with the personalities that we have with drivers that are on the program, bottom line. And I will tell you, in my opinion, the guy that stood out, I'm not going to say Cole Custer. Again, I want you to understand this. You told me don't look at the champions. Don't look at the guys that are at the top of the mantle hoisting the trophy. Look at what they did, who, what, when, and why the entire year. And as much as I said about Ty Majeski instead of Ben Rhodes winning the truck championship, I'll say the same thing about Sheldon Creed instead of, Cole Custer winning the championship. I thought Sheldon Creed did a phenomenal job. I thought he was really right there on several occasions. Yeah, there was a little controversy at the end at Martinsville. I don't per se agree with it. I think that, you're racing. But Tom, this is the animal that we have put the sport into, where friends become foes, foes become bigger enemies and rivals. And when you come down to that last race to make the championship 4 or to win the final 4, you're going to do whatever you can.
Right.
All bets are off. It's all off on the table. We saw that at Martinsville. We saw it 2 years in a row. Remember what happened with Gibbs, what he did. kind of ticking off his teammate and spinning him out on the last lap. And then, of course, he wins the championship. And I think that the young man, Ty Gibbs, is going to be a talented driver. I think that he's already showed his talent in the world of NASCAR, but I think he's going to have to step up. This year's got to be a year in Cup for Ty Gibbs to do well. He can't just use his daddy's name for his grandfather's name forever. I will tell you this, that I'm against on the Xfinity side, and I don't want to make anybody mad out there. I don't agree with Hailie Deegan moving to the Xfinity series.
Think it's too early?
I don't. I don't think. I don't
No.
think she's impressed me, Tom. I don't want to make anybody mad out there. I just don't think that she has. In my opinion, I think that they're going to use it as a publicity stunt, like the way they did with Danica Patrick, as a female in the sport. They're going to use her up, and it's going to be. I think if she can't have a good year, I want to see Hailie Deegan at least. If she doesn't win a race, Tom, I want to see her at least have about 10 top 5 to 15 top 10 finishes. If she can do that this year in Xfinity, then I will say, okay, I'm going to change my guard. I'm going to say, let's give her a shot at Cup. I don't see it happening. They put her in some of the best equipment, Tom Ryan, in the truck series this past year. What did she produce? And it's got nothing to do about being a female. It's got nothing to do about anything like that. I'll call a driver that's a male driver out just as much as I will a female. But I honestly think that the sport is trying to label her as the next Danica Patrick. And I think that they've got to be careful. I really do. I think they got to be careful on that. I like Hailie Deegan, got nothing against her. I like her a lot more than Natalie Decker. Just saying. I mean, that's somebody that don't need to be in a race car. That don't need to. But the sad reality is, Tom Ryan, is if you got daddy's money or grandpa's money or mama's money or wherever the hell you're getting all this money, you can get in the sport. And there's nothing wrong with living your dreams or chasing your dreams. But when you're just chasing dreams and tearing up cars and tearing up everybody else's race cars in the process, you're making enemies. You ain't making friends in this sport, Tom Ryan. And I see that happening. If there's one female driver that I want to say off the cuff, Tom, that I think we definitely need to keep an eye on, hands down, Katie Hettinger. That is a talented young lady. I've seen her in the last 2 years be very successful in race cars. And I think if she could just get up with the right people, and again, here we go again. She doesn't have the money that the Deegans or the other people have. But if she could show her talents, and if a major team would pick her up, Tom, I think she could definitely be somebody to watch in the world of ARCA. Bypass Tony Brenniger in ARCA. Bypass Decker. Bypass Deegan. Isabella Robusto. I think she's not the same driver that she was after she had her
big crash
concussion.
at Hickory.
I think that wreck definitely kind of shook her up a little bit, Tom. I'm not saying that she's going to, she can't recover from it or get better from it, but I just don't think that she had the success that Katie Hettinger did. And look what Katie Hettinger did. She won at the Fall Brawl of Hickory.
Absolutely.
Amongst other races.
Yeah, and, the big dust-up she had at Tri-County, and everybody was all upset with her. You know what? I don't blame her for that one bit. She has had enough, and she stood her ground, and she pushed back, and good for her.
That's right.
I think
exactly
people
right.
gave Danica Patrick too much of an issue for, she used to do the same thing. She stood up for herself at times, and maybe it was a little bit over the edge, and maybe that's why, people started to pile on. But anyway, Katie Hettinger, and a great example of the future of women in racing. Looks bright for her in the future. So, all right. So what's next?
Definitely. We're at number 10, right?
Yeah.
We're at number 10. The countdown went from number 1 to number 10. So we're at number 10. And obviously, it's the NASCAR Cup Series. And I so badly, Tom Ryan, want to say, Ryan Blaney, way to go. Props. You're the champion. You've done this. You've done that. I'm going to probably tick a lot of people off here with who I think the driver of the year was. I'm going to go with Denny
Really?
Hamlin.
What?
I have to say that I go with
Wow.
Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Hear me out. Hear me out. He
You
won
did.
races. He made a big splash. He made controversial things, and then he did good things. He literally has got everything going for him to literally win the championship. It's just this much, literally this much that he's missing from being
Yep.
a champion. You know, and I'll be honest with you, and this is one of my biggest reasons why, Tom Ryan, controversy makes politics and controversy builds ratings. And I think the personality that we have as Denny Hamlin today made a big fan base spark
Yeah.
in the world of NASCAR. So I'm going with Denny Hamlin. And I think that if everything can go well for him in that FedEx number 11, and I'm not even thinking about him being with 2311 racing and being a car owner and everything else, Joe Gibbs sees something in him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Joe Gibbs needs to see in his grandson Ty that they haven't done yet. But Denny Hamlin, if everything would just fall to place, Tom Ryan, he would be a great champion. Yes. He would be a great champion. This is a guy that I remember when I was young announcing, Tom, back in the day, and I've kind of told this story to some of the people, when he used to run at Southampton. Southampton's in the news. Keep your fingers crossed. Keep your legs crossed. Keep your eyes crossed. That track might open back up again. It's been closed since 2019, before the COVID year. You know, that's a track that's special to Denny Hamlin. Southampton Motor Speedway in Capron. I know they're doing drifting events, but that's another track that Denny Hamlin built his roots on. Southern National. When I was announcing at Kinley, he was running late models at Kinley. And I remember him at the bottom of the barrel to where he is today. And a lot of people don't know the story, Tom Ryan, about Denny Hamlin. His family about bankrupted everything they had before finally he got the opportunity to drive an Xfinity car in the Busch Series. Literally. Before RCR picked him up and gave him a chance, he literally was almost bankrupt. His family was almost in the poorhouse. And I take that a lot of consideration about why I picked him, but I also just look at everything he's done this year. Look at what he did with Hamlin and Elliott.
Yep.
Prime example. Okay, call a spade a spade. Some people got ticked off, Tom. Some people got mad. Oh, well, he shouldn't have done that to Chase Elliott. Oh, that was rough driving. But you know what? Denny Hamlin, when he got wrecked by Elliott, he called him out for what it was that he did. NASCAR took a stance on that. And I will tell you this much. There is a difference between racing somebody, and I kind of go back to the Snowball Derby between Nassie and Pollard. There's a difference between racing somebody, Tom Ryan, and then punting somebody firewall deep in the concrete. You see it across America. I see it all the time in all the races that I've called in my 28-year career. I've seen races where I go, well, man, that was just racing. Look, they're going to the end. That happens. And then you see stuff where you go like, man, that was uncalled for. This was not racing. This could have hurt somebody. And what Chase Elliott did to Denny Hamlin, and I got nothing but love for Chase Elliott. Known him, talked to him, interviewed him. Got nothing but love for the guy. Champion.
Yeah.
It was wrong what he did. It was wrong what he did. Hamlin called him out on it. And then when he did that, everybody hated him for it. But at the end of the day, look at the popularity he got the sport.
Absolutely.
Tom.
And if anybody can talk about retaliation and doing it at the wrong time, it's Denny Hamlin, because look what Joey Logano did to him in California. Broke his back.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
Everybody thought it was just an unassuming crash, and it was not. You know, I broke my back, and it's no fun.
Tom, I'll tell you somebody else that I want to say in the Cup Series I'm ready to see break out. I'm ready to see Bubba Wallace do something. Don't look at the color. Don't look at on the racial side of things, because I think, sadly, our sport and our world has become that way. And I think it's a shame. I look at the talent of the driver. I look at Darrell Wallace Jr. I know he's called Bubba Wallace, but Tom, I will always remember Darrell Wallace Jr. And I will always remember him driving legend cars, and I will always remember him driving the Wallace Industrials number 76 URA Stars late model. because that's
Yeah.
when I met the young kid. That's when I
Yep.
met the driver. The society, the politics, the world, everything we live in today, I think I think it's really surrounding him. And I think he literally is amongst a
Oh
bunch
yeah.
of pressure. And I really believe that if he could just shut all that out, Tom, get in that race car, focus on what 2311 wants him to do, focus on what Booty Barker wants him to do, which is just go out there and drive that race car to the best of his ability.
Oh
He
yeah.
can drive a car.
Yep.
He can drive a car. Don't get caught up in the politics. Don't get caught up in, oh man, I'm having a bad life, or I'm depressed, or I've got this going on. And man, this is you can't say that you're depressed because you're not being
Well,
successful. I just
no.
I don't agree with that. I see the entire world imploding around him, Tom. And if he could just find a way to zone that out, Bubba Wallace, Darrell Wallace Jr. would be a really, really good race car driver. And honestly, he could be a great spokesman for the sport. And it's not
Right.
just because of his color and
Well,
personality.
it's because of his personality, though. He'd be a great. Yeah.
Well, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Because of his
Yeah.
race is what I
But
meant to
no,
say. Color.
he's
Yes.
a fantastic driver. I agree with you there, and he does have a lot on his
Yeah.
shoulders, and he's getting better and better, I believe, at dealing with that, and that's great to see because, I mean, there
Yeah.
is a lot of baggage he has to carry, and maybe
Sure.
this year will be the year he can. I mean, he's won before, which is fantastic. It's great to see his owner at the track with him too more. He's more visual. Yep, he's more
Michael
visual out
Jordan.
there, and that's great for NASCAR. That goes back to what you said before, the whole package, and everything works around.
Yep.
So yeah, the first time I got to meet Bubba Wallace was when he won at Bristol in a super late model, and it was with Fathead
Yeah.
Motorsports, and what a great guy.
That was the first U.S. Short Track
Yes,
Nationals,
and it
if I remember
basically got
correctly.
him. I wouldn't say that win got him back on track to going back to NASCAR, but that the
Right.
path started right
Right.
after that again. You know, he dropped out for a little
Sure.
bit, won
Sure.
that race at Bristol, and then boom. Now he's a Cup Series driver, and it's great to see because he deserves it. Because he's one of those guys with LaJoy that was driving in the UARA. Who else
Yep.
was used to drive in that when you covered it?
Did I just see a thumbs up pop up on your thing?
I don't know.
Where did that come
Yeah.
from? No. There was like an emoji in the background with a thumbs up.
I don't know how that
on
happened.
It.
That happened earlier. I got to figure out that.
I guess the algorithms of our podcast world agree with what the hell me and Tom are talking about. It just
That's
did
right.
a virtual thumbs up there.
Thumbs high, yeah.
Thumbs high.
All right, so
yes.
back to UARA. Like, who else did Bubba Wallace drive with
Yeah.
against when he was doing that back in the day? It was LaJoy, him.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you had LaJoy, you had
Yep.
Brandon McReynolds, you had
Yep.
Lee McCall, Matt McCall, Jamie Cottle, Deke McCaskill. I mean,
Was
Stacey
Ryan Blaney in
Puryear.
that, or no? He just
You
did late
name it.
model stuff.
Ryan Blaney was running pro late
Okay.
models in supers. He was on when I was announcing for ASA, and it was the ASA Southeast Asphalt Tour. Ryan Blaney was running that, and he
Okay.
also ran pass. So
Gotcha.
and Chase Elliott
Gotcha.
too. Yeah.
All right, so boom. Yeah.
Yeah. God,
I
I'm
know,
old.
I know.
I'm old, Tom.
I know. Well, yeah. So that's a top 10. Boom. There we go. So now I love it. I
You
love
like
it because I don't disagree with many of them. I wouldn't say I disagree with any of them, but the only person
Okay.
like I thought of would have been the sprint car driver who won the $1 million this year.
Talking about oh my, come on! I'm trying to think of his name. But again though, Tom. But here's the deal though. Is it Brock Zierfoss? Was it him? The sprint car $1 million winner.
Logan
I know
Schuchart.
what you're talking about. The race at
Logan
Eldora.
Schuchart.
Logan Schuchart, yeah, the 1S. And I'll be honest with you, Tom, and I'm gonna come out of the closet saying this to everybody. I don't follow the sprint car world. I don't follow the sprint car world as much as I wish that I could. I'm gonna be honest with you, Tom. The only time I ever get excited to see the sprint cars is when they come to Charlotte for the World Finals. I don't get excited following the world of sprint cars
No.
all over the country. USAC,
Yeah.
I do like USAC. I think that there's, I don't know, man. And me and Johnny Gibson and me and Brian, we've had this conversation before. And the conversation was that, like, putting the
Mhm.
wings on the car, putting the wings on the car is a totally different world than driving a
Right.
non-wing sprint car. And me and Pat Sullivan's had this conversation with USAC, and I think, honestly, you are brave as hell to drive a sprint car, especially a Silver Crown car or a national sprint car on Winchester without a wing on it, and you're diving off out of the corners. That's the first time I've ever been to Winchester Speedway, is when we
Yeah.
went to the 400 together. And I remember you telling me that, as a matter of fact. I
Yeah.
went under the tunnel, and I stood up in turn one in the pits, man. And I tell people this honestly, that track does no justice
No.
until seeing it live. And that is a selling point that I tell people all the time about racetracks across America. But every racetrack has its own personality. But I'm telling you, if you ever go to Winchester Speedway, stand in the infield in turn one, especially if there's cars on the track, but you could probably get a
Yeah.
good idea without cars on that racetrack, Tom. You have got to have some, and I want to say this in no disrespect,
Yes.
big cojones to go off and sell into that corner and in a track that almost has got 48 degrees of
Yeah.
40 degrees of
Yeah.
banking. You're
And
brave.
look what
You're
Gio
brave.
did this year to Stephen Nassie, and he
Yeah, Giovanni
and he didn't
Ruggiero, I
even
believe it
wreck
was.
the guy. That move, like, because
Yeah.
what that track is like
Yes.
to do that, not wreck Stephen
Yes.
Nassie, and then win the race. I mean, that kid.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, and that's something you kind of opened that door again. I want to. We kind of talked about it for the big national races, and you remember back in the day when we done the bull ring, there was the crown jewels of pavement, and still to this day, and I think it could be subject for debate to change, but obviously it was the Oxford 250, the Winchester 400, the All-American 400,
Mhm.
and of course the Snowball Derby, and I'm talking about pavement
Right.
racing for pros and supers. But what I can't figure out, Tom, is why the car count can be so damn good at Oxford
Right.
in
Yep.
Maine before Labor Day. It's okay at I would say probably the same numbers, maybe a little bit less than 50
Mhm.
plus at the Snowball
Yeah.
Derby in Pensacola at Nashville. But I don't understand why the Winchester 400, as prestigious as that race is, Tom, in October in the fall, cannot draw less than 20 super late models, 25 super late models. I just don't get it. Why do you think that it's become that way? I don't
It's a
understand
very
that.
very simple answer. Cars have become too expensive, and if you wreck one there, it's gone. It is gone. It's the opposite of the Oxford 250. Now, the Oxford 250, you don't
Sure.
need a Fury. You don't need a Hampke. You don't need a Seneca. You only need a car
Sure.
that can handle a flat, lowly banked racetrack that's a bull ring. You don't need the high end dollared car to win there or to run good there either. So that's
Sure. Do you think the drivers are scared of
Winchester.
the track? Do you think that's got a lot to do with it, Tom? Do you think it's got a lot to do with it? The
I don't.
drivers are just,
Listen.
you're going to see.
I don't.
You don't?
Because, knock on wood, it's been a while since we've seen somebody hurt there in a pro or a super late model. Because the cars have become sturdier and built heavier, and I believe it's a pocketbook thing. I believe it's a numbers thing. I believe they do not want to wreck a car that they paid for. I
had to move the camera. I'm sorry, I had a squirrel moment.
Yeah, I believe it has everything to do with writing off a car. That's
Well, and that's another thing, Tom, we could talk about for days and months and years, and that's the cost of the sport. It has got way out of hand. I mean, it was already starting to have financial burdens before COVID hit. After COVID, people just said, hey, let's take advantage of this and jump on the gravy train. And we're seeing it. We're
Yep.
seeing it with tires. We're seeing it with engines. We're seeing it with transmissions, parts, side panels, you name it. I mean, it's just you literally back in the day could blow it. And I'm preferring to crate racing now
Right.
as a voice of fast track. You could blow a crate engine, Tom Ryan. You could contact Chevrolet Performance in Detroit. You could have a brand new 602, 604 crate engine on your doorstep by the weekend, Monday. Now, you literally go on almost a 1-year waiting list. That is a travesty.
Oh my
That is
gosh.
that is crazy. There's people from this year, Tom, that I know in Fast Track and Ultimate that blew Chevrolet engines, and they're still waiting for the engines to come to the manufacturer. Or they got to blueprint the engines and get it approved to fix them to be able to run.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
And what do you think happens when you don't have engines? And people were blowing engines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people get their car stuck in the shop and they can't get it out because they got nothing to drive it with. So
that's right.
Well, all right. Well,
and I'm not just referring to dirt.
Absolutely.
Pavement's the same way too. It's all across the spectrum of things. There was a time where NASCAR parts were in a shortage. I don't think they are anymore.
Oh, I'm sure there's stuff. I'm sure there's
I'm sure there's stuff
they're scrounging for, and you know, that kind of thing happens. I get it. So wrapping up here.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else you want to cover or talk about or promote?
I think we've kind of pretty much, I mean, gone all across the board. You wanted the top 10. You wanted the best. I gave them to you. Maybe it's not what people were expecting. Maybe it's not the champions.
Give me a number one. Give me a number one of all these guys that you picked. Give me your favorite for the year. Who do you think had the best year?
So you're wanting me out of every driver that I picked in the top 10?
Shepard, Queen.
So across the board for every driver.
Just who is your top performer out of your top 10 picks? So is it Brandon Shepard? Is it RTJ?
Man, that's hard. Can I say dirt
one
and
for each? That's fine. Yep. And pavement.
For dirt, it's Ricky Thornton Jr. For 100%. Dirt, it's Ricky Thornton Jr. 100%. I'm not going to change that at all.
Yep.
RTJ for dirt. For pavement, I got to go with Tom Majeski.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
I'm just being honest. If I had to be shooken, rattled, and rolled down to one driver out of my list, for dirt, it's Ricky Thornton Jr. for what he's done. And for pavement, it's going to be Tom Majeski. And I look at Tom Majeski on what he's done on the stars level, to the snowball derby, to the big races across America, to even NASCAR and the truck series. In my opinion, driver of my list, Tom Majeski.
That's a great pick. I love that pick because A, he's a short track guy, and B, he had a hell of a year in the truck series. Hell of a year. So close to getting to that championship level. You know, you never know. This could be his year. So, well, Wesley, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Yeah. Love being buddies with you and love having you on. We'll definitely have to do this again for something else, but thank you.
Yes, as always, you can follow me at Wesley Outland on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, of course, WesleyOutland.com. Can't believe that I have a website for all these years and it's still up and running. Kate Dillon did it for me. And, of course, we are CRN, and I'll see you guys at a racetrack somewhere. And, Tom, I know that a lot of people, there are so many people that are behind the scenes in working like what you've done for years in production and on camera and on pit road and all the things that you do. And, man, I value your friendship, and I also value just what you've done for the sport. I know it feels like we're becoming old horses and being left behind, but we're still kicking.
We're still kicking. We're still promoting short track racing. We're still having fun. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Yes. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and follow Wesley Outland, follow Sport Action Films, and follow BSing with Bubba podcast. Thank you, guys.
And I'll never forget when you killed Ginger Fia, by the way. I got to let Bubba Pollard know about that, when you killed Ginger Fia at
Florence,
Florence, actually, it was. Yeah, because Bubba Pollard introduced it to me. Oh, look at this flying by. Look at it.
All right.
Oh, I'm cutting up with you guys
That's
now.
right.
We're getting long winded. Thank you, Tom, man. I appreciate it. And a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. We'll see you at the
Sounds good,
track in
Wesley. Thank you,
2024.
man. Thanks for checking out this latest video on Sport Action Films YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out all the other amazing content that we have here on this channel, as well as BSing with Bubba, the podcast. Please comment, like, subscribe, and definitely do us a favor and share the content that you like. Would love to have more people on here checking us out. Short track racing at its best, highlighting all the drivers, all the racers, and even the people behind the scenes. Thanks again for watching.